Hey folks, this is Don Schaefer once again with you. Excited to be here. Excited to be talking about the program that we are continuing, and it's called the Personal Transformation. And it's dealing with the fact that all of us came into the world the same as a hard drive. We're born in this world, no skills, no knowledge, no abilities, nothing. We're just born in this world. We knew how to cry. We knew how to cry and had other bodily functions, but other than that, we had to learn it all. And we've all been programmed in different ways to think in different ways. And that's why we've taken a scripture out of the Bible in Romans 12, 1 and 2, where Paul talks about the fact that we're not to be conformed to this world, but that we're meant to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, that we can prove the perfect and good and acceptable will of God for each and every one of us. And so there has to be a transformation. So basically what Paul's saying is we need to get ourselves in a place where we can be reprogrammed in different ways. And that's where we've been doing upgrades. That's what we've been calling it, upgrading your operating system. And this one here is called Crossing the Bridge 2.33, Crossing the Bridge. And it's an exciting one. I think it's going to get some thought to you and give you an opportunity to maybe look at things a little bit differently. The quote I have here is from Epictetus, ancient guy. He says, "The only thing you command are your thoughts and actions. We choose our response. Stop aspiring to anyone other than your own best self, for that does fall into our control." So it's all about our thoughts. It's about the way we see things. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to get across a bridge. And hopefully this will be something that will resonate with you. And if it does, share with your family and friends, do all the stuff, and follow us or subscribe. But anyway, okay, it's not enough just to think about things. It isn't. We sit back and we think about a lot of things. And I know myself, sometimes I see time going by and I realize, hey, you know what? I thought about this years ago. Never did it. Never did it. There has to be more than just thinking about what you want. There has to be some element that's put into that. And that's where a lot of times we find ourselves hesitating. And I a lot of times mention that people can get caught in the hesitant squat. They will squat down and they will hesitate and not move. And I had a friend named Joe Donahue, and he gave me a coin. And on the coin it said, "He who hesitates is lost." And it showed a guy sitting on a stone, but it was a skeleton of a guy in a thinking position with his hand up and all that. And he eventually just died there in that position. And that's the way it is a lot of times in people's lives. They get great ideas, but they get themselves caught in the hesitator squat, if you will, and they never achieve what they want to achieve. And that's where I'm hoping to touch on something here, because I find a lot of times people struggle in life. They have big expectations, but they have no results. And I see this sometimes in young people. It really saddens me when you see young people going to college, getting degrees, trying to achieve something in the future. But then there is something that happens. They graduate. They're very wise at whatever they went to school for. But then it's the job. It's the occupation. A lot of times they never reach that. They never go where they started off to go to. There's a gap in between the two. See, and that's where we are going to be talking a little bit about crossing that bridge, getting over to whatever it is that you're going after. Because a lot of times we get caught on the other side and we never go anywhere. You see, we don't want to get into the hesitator squat. And a lot of times it happens in people's life. And we live life and all of a sudden it gets away on us. We realize we never crossed that bridge. And I believe that in life, all of us have a purpose. I believe God has created all of us with a purpose. We need to focus on all that. But I don't think a lot of people cross that bridge. We never really achieve areas. And that's where we're going to be talking a little bit about reaching that next level of greatness. Everything in life depends on that level and the steps we take to get to it. We must have the attitude and be willing to break through whatever barriers, whatever situations might be in front of us. And we need to develop that attitude. We can learn a lot about whatever it is we're going after, But if we never put the action to it, we will never achieve that. And so many times there's obstacles that we have to overcome. We have to get ourselves to the place, I will not be stopped. I know what I'm going after. I know what I've been created for. Lord, help me to cross that bridge. Lord, help me to get where I need to be. See, and that's where we remember that gold is not found lay on top of the ground. It has to be dug for. Gold is something that has to be mined. There has to be a lot of action put into it. And there's a lot of gold as far as areas of our lives and stuff. It's something that takes some action. It takes some work to achieve gold. And a lot of times in people's life, they want the riches, they want the glory, but the bridge, the crossing, the action that's necessary to make this all happen doesn't happen in their life. And that's where in life, we need to realize that we better be ready to get dirty. We better be ready to do whatever it takes. I am an action person. And it's interesting too, because I teach this a lot, that feelings always follow actions. A lot of times you don't feel like doing anything, even though you have a dream out there or whatever, but the feelings just aren't there, and you don't want to do anything about it. But when you can put it into action, that's when things start to happen. So we have to, myself, I've done things in life. And I like using this as an example. I remember one time we had a house and we had a porch built on the front of it. It was a Victorian type house. Nice, beautiful house. But I wanted to place stone underneath of it. I wanted to put some type of matting or whatever to stop the weeds. And I wanted to cover it with stones so that it would be like that. No grass, weeds, or whatever. But I had a whole bunch of stone dropped off in a pile. And I looked at that thing for maybe a week. And I'm sitting there saying, this is going to be work. Getting that wheelbarrow out and shoveling and all this. And I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, is there a way I can get around this? There really wasn't. I just had to do it. But once I grabbed that wheelbarrow and I went over there and put the gloves on and started shoveling stone, I started doing it. And I was just like Forrest Gump. I just shoveled stone and I wheeled stone and I dumped stone. But once I got the actions going, then the feelings were there. Then I felt like doing this. I mean, it was a different mindset. And that's where, for us to cross the bridge in our life, a lot of times we need to have an action mindset. We have to put things in. We can't wait for our feelings, because our feelings will say, I want to take it easy. I don't want to be abused. I don't want anybody saying anything bad to me. So therefore, I'm not going to do anything about what I want in life. No, you got to be beyond all that. And that's where we're hoping to give you some understanding on this today, that there is a crossing that has to happen. And it's not necessarily an easy crossing, but it is an action thing. It's something that you need to put into action in your life. And if you're only serious about this, you have to be serious about improving the condition you are in right now. A lot of people are not serious enough. People lose sight of the fact that what we are living in is serious business. The time we're living in right now, this is all serious. This isn't just a game. I know they call it the human race. I think it is. I always tell people, it seems like time stops for no man. It's a race to get things done in our life. And we better be going after the areas of life that are going to mean something. I know John Maxwell wrote a book called, I think, Life Matters. Excellent book. But everything in life matters. The things we do, everything matters. What we try to achieve, this all matters. You can't just sit back in a back burner and just let things go by, because it does matter. We are going to be looked upon. I know myself, I believe in life after this life. I am looking forward to something better on the other side. But I know there's a bridge that I need to take to get there. And I need to develop myself and be able to be a performer in this life. And I need all the help I can get. I need the actions and everything that's necessary to get me there. But I know that it is a crossing. I know that I have to do something. It isn't going to be me sitting back and it's just starting to happen. I tell my grandchildren sometimes, I say, I come up to them and I say, is there anything I can do for you? And they look at me kind of funny, because I should be asking them to do something. They're maybe sitting around looking at their phone or something. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I get something for you? They look at me funny and they say, Grandpa, what are you doing? I tell them, I says, the moment I sit down, there's a part of me that wants to relax. There's a part of me that wants to get lazy. There's a part of me that doesn't want to do anything. And I have to be smart enough to realize I'm not going to give that part of me an opportunity not to do something. I am going to get on that bridge. I'm going to get the actions that I need to do in life, and I'm going to do these things because I know how detrimental this time is that we're living in right now. And I have to be serious about it. I ran across a gentleman, this was a couple weeks ago, was at an airport in Naples, Florida, and they had a Vietnam historic memorial in this airport where they had all kinds of artifacts and stuff soldiers and stuff had during the war. And I walked through it, and it was interesting, because I lived in that era. It was interesting to see the different things they had, and to really realize what happened there. I know there was over 1,000 Floridians that passed away in that war. They had little flags that represented every one of them. But there was a guy in there, it was an older gentleman, and I started talking with him a little bit. I like to do that. And we started talking about how easy life is for people today. How possibly the young people don't realize what it is, the struggle in any areas. Life is a lot of times very easy, very handed. We live in a soft situation right now. And he was talking about in England, he was born in England. And he said after the Second World War that the food was rationed. He says once a year at Christmas time, he says he remembers having a full meal where they had all the staples, the meats, the potatoes, the vegetables, and all that. Otherwise, during the year was all rationed. And then I was relating stuff. I remember being born into this world. My parents didn't have a toilet. We were living in an upstairs apartment on a farm, but it was just a bucket. It was a bucket with a seat on it. And my dad would haul it out every day and throw it in the manure spreader with the cow stuff. There was no bathtub. There was a sink in the kitchen. That was it. So if we washed up or whatever, that was it. Things were a little bit rough back then. Today, things are very easy. And that's where to cross the bridge, to be able to put the action plans together, it is tough for a lot of people because they've lived on easy street for a long time. But that's where I'm trying to encourage you and trying to say, hey, we got to get our act together because there is a bridge that's waiting to be crossed. And the children of the Great Depression, I want to mention that too. They had a total different look at life as far as savings, as far as what they did, as far as, I know my mother at Christmas time, she would take all the wrappings from the presents and she would make sure she didn't rip them. All of us kids had to be sure we didn't rip them because she folded these up because these wrappings could be used again. They preserved everything, very conservative in what they did. Today, it's a throwaway society, and it's just a different mindset. But it's a mindset that affects people in all areas of life. And we need to realize the seriousness of what we're doing because this is our go around. This isn't a dress rehearsal. This is it. We're in the middle of the game right now. And if we have to realize that, our reward is on the other side of that bridge and we got to get there. The goals, the dreams, things that we're going after. It's a mindset. God has created us that way. That's where it's important. And there are principles that are trying to push you over the bridge. Okay, I always like to mention that. There are principles that follow us. Our desires, our decisions, our faith, our persistence, they're always trying to push us. Messages like this, whatever in life, God is trying to get us over the bridge. And that's where there's such a big link. There's a link to achieving and just thinking about it. We have a lot of wishers. We got a lot of thinkers out there, but the producers cross that bridge. They achieve the areas in life. And that's where we're trying to get people to move. We're trying to get people to the other side of the bridge to achieve things in life. I know the Bible talks about witnesses. It talks about there are many witnesses that are watching what is going on, trying to encourage on the other side. I sometimes I like to think of my parents as well as grandparents and people have passed on before me, being able to see me right now and realizing the value of the time I am living right now and what there is on the other side of that bridge if I'll only put the effort in right now to get over that bridge. If I'll only put the effort and actions together to achieve some of that. This is so critical for our success, to be able to get these principles working in our life, to get the desire, determination, get the eagerness, get the willpower, get all these elements together and say, hey, you know what? Get the moxie to cross, to saying, I am not going to allow myself to get stuck on this side of that bridge. I am going across that. I got thoughts on it. People talk about it. People say that there's better stuff on the other side than there is right here. I need to get across that. I need to achieve my dreams, my goals in this life, and someday spend eternity, on the other side of that bridge, realizing I did everything that I could possibly to get over there. And that's where it's important. And that's where it's setting up a bridge, crossing standards for your life. Okay, that's where a lot of times too, we talked about that in an earlier session, how standards are so important, how we set up the things that we do, things we will not do. We have a certain set of standards. This is the way I live my life. I don't just fall into what the world's standards are. Take it easy. You can spend as much as you want and somebody will forgive all your debts or whatever. They get this crazy stuff going on in their heads without realizing sometimes they're just digging themselves into bigger holes. I need to set up some standards and get myself into a place where they become the action part of my life, where I move on and go forward. I know in the book of James, it says, you can talk about your faith all you want, but if I don't see any actions, your faith means nothing. Fact is, he says it's dead. You can say you got faith and this and that, but if there's no actions, if you're not putting any efforts into it, don't tell me you've got faith. Your faith is dead. I know one time, and I've shared this before too. I share stories a lot, but I remember one time talking to this group at a church, and I took the whole group up in the middle of the service and went across the street into the cemetery, which was across the street. And I told them, I said, this is where all the opportunities are buried. All the stuff that could have been, should have been, would have been, but they never crossed the bridge. They never took the effort. They never put the actions in it. They lacked the faith. They never put any action to their faith. It's buried there. And it's sad. Sometimes I think this. Sometimes I think the cemeteries are still inside these churches. These people are alive, but they're still dead. They haven't gotten any action in their life. They move and they breathe and all that stuff, but there's no action. So they're really dead when it comes to achieving their purpose in life and achieving the areas, or possibly the areas that God would want them in. They're dead to that. We're just passing time. We need more than that. We need more than that, and that's where we need to realize that there is something great in front of us. We just need to put some actions together. And the greatest tragedy of not bridging the gap between the decision and the action, it is the greatest. It's amazing, how the things we ought to be doing and should be doing, what a tragedy it is in that cemetery. To me, there's people in there, I'm sure, that did cross that bridge, but I know there's some that haven't. And I say to myself, man, that is a tragedy, to live a full life. And I see people today, that are wanting to live 150, 200 years old. I'm sitting there, we all have an appointed time, to leave this world. And I tell people that we're not home. This is the building process right now. This is the areas that we structure ourselves. This is the areas we get the opportunity to cross a bridge. But a lot of times we get in a mode where we don't think that we're leaving this world. It isn't a mindset for us. So we don't think we need to do anything about it, but we want to live forever. And I say to myself, what use is that if we don't achieve what we've been placed in this world to do. If we never cross that bridge, we never put the action into our life to become the person we were birthed into this world and designed to be. It is important to realize that what a tragedy it is if we waste our life away, never realizing what God has for each and every one of us on the other side of the bridge. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. As we're talking right now, I realize I'm probably using some valuable time in your life, and you're taking some from me, but I think this is important time because the clock is ticking. It continues to tick. And we realize that, hey, I want to be an achiever. And I know that I'm talking to people that are still breathing. And that's an important thing because if we're still breathing, I believe there is still possibilities in our life, areas that we can reach out to. And this is an understanding. This upgrade here, Crossing the Bridge 2.33, is an understanding. I'm hoping possibly a wake-up call, possibly for you, realizing, hey, I best get going. The greatest hope and prayer is to see you on the other side. That is my dream right now. Not only to be there, but to see some of you being there. Maybe all over on the other side. And we get ourselves into a position in life where we're encouraging others. You can do this. There's some struggles, there's barriers or whatever it might be, but you can do this. We need to get to the other side. There's a bridge. There's a gulf in between. There's a lot of stuff going on that's trying to stop us from crossing that bridge, but we need to have faith and step it through. There's still hope as long as we are still breathing, and we will never settle for less. I'm not a settler. I tell people that I want to wear out. I don't want to rust out. I want to be action until it is all over, until my last breath on this side. I want to get over on that other side. I want to proclaim this. I want to be able to express this to people. And I hope it's an encouragement for you. But the encouraging thing is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He walked that bridge and he has prepared a place for us on the other side. And he will take us hand in hand over that bridge as long as we reach out to him. He said the kingdom is at hand. All of this stuff is reachable. All of this is reachable. We need to take the steps to do it. We need to develop a faith in our life and realize what life really is. It's not about taking it easy. It's not about being comfortable and not achieving anything, having thoughts but never putting actions to it. Today is the day of action. And that's where I want to thank you for joining with me. I hope this resonated with you. Again, I want to say if it did, share it with your friends, family, and I hope to see you